got a feeling.
First off, thank you. We have a lot of work to do at the federal level, I can tell you that. At the state, you guys have done a pretty good job. Federal level is pretty bad. Well, I think the most important thing I want to make sure everybody understands tonight is how appreciative I am that you've given me this opportunity to be your governor for 2 terms and your senator for 1 term. So if you, 14 years ago at this event, probably 3/4 of the room had never met me. And I ran on a platform to get our state back to work. It was the biggest issue we had at the time. We were losing jobs, losing opportunity, homes were in foreclosure. And you give me the opportunity, after a very contentious primary, you rallied around. Yeah, that was fun. Primaries are brutal. Anybody that just went through a primary, I feel for you. Yeah, it was brutal. But thank you. I'm very appreciative. It's been a great opportunity, and I look forward to another 6 years. We're going to get the federal government fixed. It's a lot of work. So first, I want to thank my wife. So she's put up with this. She married me for my money. I was making $334 a month as an E2 in the Navy. Our apartment cost $250 a month. And so somehow she thought I was going to get ahead. So thank you for all your support, and thank you for being here tonight. I've had fun. I think it's over the last 10 months I've been to every county. I've done over 43 Lincoln Reagan Day dinners, and you guys have invited me all over the state. And let me tell you, if anybody thinks we're going to lose, if anybody thinks in any way that Donald Trump is going to lose Florida, they're crazy. The turnout all across the state for Republicans is unbelievable. So we're going to have a great year. First off, I want to thank each of you, all right, because what you guys have done with voter registration, put in perspective, in 2010 when we won, there are 568,000 more Ds than ours. Even in 2018, there are 200,000 more Ds than ours. So what you guys have all done at the state level and at the county level and the Republican women's groups, all these groups to get the voter registration over 1 million, you should give yourself a big round of applause. The state party is being well run. I want to thank, I don't know where Evan is, but Evan Powers is doing a great job. And I think he's been in the job for, 10 months and has done a great job. I want to thank your Vice Chair, Jesse Phillips, your Secretary, Christy Banks, your Treasurer, Mike Moberly, and the quiet and shy Peter Feynman and Kathy King for being committee man and committee woman. So thank you all for what you're doing. Now, I think Senator Collins said this a little bit. Thank God we live in this country, right? And if you live in this country, you should be a complete optimist. Because it should be, and we want it to be, wherever you start, you can be anything you want. In my case, born to a single mom, she said, who cares? She said, we live in public housing, we don't have any money, but guess what? In this country, you can be anything. There is absolutely no limit. And whether you're rich or poor, when I was growing up, they told you the same thing. Go get your butt in gear, get a good education, and get to work. I told my mom, she said, you're going to go to church all the time, you're going to be an Eagle Scout, you're going to make straight A's, and go make some money. So it worked out. So I think anybody that teaches their kids that is doing something. But you can look at our federal government now and be pretty pessimistic. But you shouldn't be. If we elect the right people and they go to Washington, D.C. and do what they said they're going to do on the campaign trail, then things are going to change. So I ran on one thing back in 2010, jobs. So how many people in this country today, now first off, raise your hand, maybe you stand up so I can see you. How many of you, if you have children, tell your kids you don't want them to have a job? I don't think I see anybody standing. How many people is your guess number of people, not percentage, number of people in this country today that do not work their working age. Working age is 16 to 64. How many people do not have a job? What's your guess? 100 million. 100 million people. In the last 5 years, our population in the country is up 2%. How much is spending up? 55. Last 12 months, how many full-time jobs have been added in our country? We've lost 1.1 million. We're only adding part-time jobs. So when they announce, if they announce like this on Friday, they announced just 142,000 jobs, that could actually be 71,000 people or less that got multiple jobs. And it's all because the leadership in Washington, D.C. does not care about the budget, does not care about jobs, is not focused on the things we all run on when we run for office. Now, everybody will tell you elections matters. Everybody will tell you that. This year, they really matter. So let's think about some of the things, and Evan talked about this a little bit. This election is about whether we as a nation stand with our allies like Israel or capitulate to terrorists. I think the Council General from Israel is here also. This election is about whether we as a nation will allow our Jewish students to be attacked for simply wearing a Star of David on their college campus. This election is about whether we as a nation will allow supporters of Hamas to burn the American flag and desecrate public property just steps from the U.S. Capitol, and nobody in D.C. government did anything about it. This election is about whether we as a nation will continue to allow violent criminals to illegally walk into our country and overtake our cities with drugs and crime. This election is about whether we as a nation will say it's okay for dictators like Maduro gangs to take over apartment complexes in our cities. You saw what they did in Denver. This election is about whether we as a nation will allow women's sports to be completely destroyed. Now, we have the most radical ticket on the Democrat side in my lifetime. And Harris showed exactly what she was when she picks Walz. He is the most radical vice president ever. I can't imagine anybody could be more radical than he is. They both have a history of embracing well-known anti-Semites, history of awarding tax dollars to groups that are terrorist sympathizers. They've got a history of completely abandoning our allies. You know what we should be doing? We should help our allies and scare the crap out of our enemies. And look at Walz. What did he do? He went on his honeymoon to China. So here's a guy that believes in what she's doing. So what's she doing? Well, he's sending precursors across our southern border. 76,000 people died last year of fentanyl. More than 70% of the pills that are not bought from a pharmacy are laced with fentanyl today as a result of the cartels in China. China lies, cheats, and steals about everything they say they're going to do. They didn't comply with the Trump trade deal. Of course, we have an administration that doesn't enforce anything. All the World Trade Organization requirements, they don't comply with them. They control the United Nations. I mean, this is crazy. Anybody that buys anything from China, you have to think about what you're doing. You're helping a government that wants to destroy our way of life. They're killing tens of thousands of Americans every year. They're stealing our jobs. They're building a military and they want to defeat our allies. They're already threatening the sovereignty of the Philippines, and they're threatening Taiwan every day. And now the Democrat vice president cozies up to them. This is crazy. Harris says it's okay for illegals to vote in our elections. This is crazy. We had Netanyahu came. So just think about it. We have did you guys know we have American hostages still held by Hamas? Do you think Biden has ever said their names? If you're old enough to remember when American hostages were taken in Iran back in 1979, we talked about it every day. I don't know if Biden's ever talked about it. And then Netanyahu came to speak in Congress because Biden was holding back his weapons that Congress funded. And guess what? Harris, who leads this, she's the president of the Senate, she didn't even show up. And then Trump says Harris hates Israel, and the mainstream media gets upset. Truth is upsetting. Now she thinks because she has a Jewish husband, she can act like she can appeal to the anti-Semites in her party. The same ones that told her not to pick a Jewish governor for a running mate. Now it's probably good for us because Waltz shows exactly what she is. She's a complete socialist. Now, if 10 years ago I said that the Democrat Party couldn't decide if they're going to be for or against a few things, you'd say, you're crazy. Let's see. Do we know if they're for or against anti-Semitism? We don't. We don't know if they're for or against men playing women's sports. Well, we're pretty sure on that one they're for men playing women's sports, and they don't care about anti-Semitism. They're clearly for open borders. You hear Harris says she wanted to build a wall? What a joke. She's the border czar. She's the border czar. They completely opened the border. The border's wide open. I've been down there a bunch of times. You know what? There's some really nice people that want to come here because their immigration laws are so difficult to get around and work through. But there's drugs and terrorists and criminals. Christopher Wray testified when I asked him a question, are there terrorist cells in the country as a result of what Mayorkas, who was sitting right next to him, opened the border? He said, yes, all over our country. But they're okay with that. Maduro is trying to steal the election in Venezuela. Now, think about what they did. They said, we're going to let you sell oil if you have a free and fair election. They had an election that was not free or fair. The public won. Armando Gonzalez won it. And what did Biden do? He's never even said Gonzalez is the president-elect, and he just extended them to sell more oil. They don't care. They don't care about democracy and freedom in Latin America. They don't care what's going on in Cuba, Venezuela, or Colombia, or Nicaragua. It's disgusting. Then let's think about what they've done to Trump. From the moment Trump came down the escalator, they've trashed him. They've trashed his family. They've slandered him. They've lied about him. They had all these hoax about him. And then what they've done the last, year and a half? They've tried to put him in jail. That's what they do in places like Venezuela, in Cuba, in Nicaragua. That's going on in our country today. They're trying to put the political opponent of our president and vice president in jail. We should be furious. Now, I have an opponent in my race. Guess what? You know who her friends are? AOC, Tlaib, and Omar. Now, think about this. How could you, she came here, I think, as a teenager from Ecuador. So if you leave Ecuador, you probably left because you don't like what was going on. Or maybe you left because they didn't like you, but who knows? But maybe because she was a socialist then, too. But this lady is a complete socialist. And think about what we're fighting for. Are our kids and our grandkids going to live under socialism? Remember this, Chavez got elected in a free and fair election. Maybe it wasn't perfect. He got elected, and then look what happened in Venezuela. Now, we're going to have all together a big win. Here's the way I think about these races. You win a statewide race, so President Trump's going to win Florida. I'll win my Senate race as a result of you maximizing the Republican vote in every election. Every mayor's race, every school board race, every state rep race, every state senator, maximize the vote. Everybody that's running is going to tell you, oh, go campaign, work on my campaign. We'd love everybody working on our campaign. If you want to, you can go to rickscott.com and work on my campaign. But whoever campaign you work on, whoever you care the most about, say, I don't want them to win by 5%. I want them to win by 50%. I will get all those votes, and so will President Trump. Now, I'm also running to be the leader. So, so here's how DC works. There's two dictatorships. On the Republican side, there's the McConnell dictatorship. On the Democrat side, there's the Schumer dictatorship. So you think you should be excited you're on a committee, right? The bill might go through a committee? No. Schumer and McConnell will decide the bill on their own. They'll bring it to the floor, and they won't let you have an amendment vote. And then if you don't vote their way, if you don't vote with McConnell, he trashes you in the press. And if you don't vote with Schumer, he trashes you in the press, if you're a Democrat. This is crazy. This idea that we're each supposed to represent our state, my view of the world is, if I can't talk 60 of my colleagues into what I want, it's my problem. If I don't get an amendment vote, if I don't get a vote on a bill, that's leadership's problem. This is going to change. So I'm running to be the leader. I've got 2 opponents, and we are going to win. Now, let's think about some of the things. My goal is to get these done immediately. Stop any funds to Hamas. Do you realize that today, all that money going into Gaza goes to Hamas? So think about what Biden's done. He's put all the billions of dollars into Gaza that goes to Hamas. Hamas is fat and happy right now. And then he holds back weapons on Israel. And then you saw just the other day, we had 6 hostages, including American, Hersh Goldberg, Poland, die in Rafah, that maybe if Biden had given the weapons, that wouldn't have happened. We're going to stop money for Hamas. We're going to close the border. We're going to stop illegals from voting elections. Oh yeah, we have this. It's called the SAFE Act. Okay, so it's a bill that's already passed the House. McConnell's done nothing to bring it up. So hopefully, Mike Johnson, Speaker, what he said, he's going to try to get it passed next week as part of a continuing resolution. Continuing resolutions are bad, but they don't even try to pass budget. They just pass spending bills, right, up there. So what did McConnell do? Even before it comes to try to kill it in the House, he says, oh, I don't want the House to pass that. Here's what the bill says. Illegals cannot vote in our elections. Pretty simple. And McConnell's against that. This has got to change. Now, they also need somebody that's going to work to get Trump's agenda done. If you read what they put out, he's got an unbelievable agenda. But guess what? A lot of that stuff, most of that stuff, has to be done through Congress. If he doesn't have somebody up there that's going to help him get that stuff done, it's not going to happen. When he first became president, they didn't help him. They weren't happy that he got there. We're going to make sure he does well this time. Now, think about our party. Our party was started to fight the atrocity of slavery. We're the party that's known for freedom. We're the party that's known for opportunity. We're the party that's known for the American dream, right? Think about your family. Make it real personal for your family. Ann and I have 7 grandkids. I want my 6 grandsons and my granddaughter to say, Grandpa, I can be anything. I can be anything. That's only going to be true if we elect the right people. Now, here's what we have to do. We have to vote. We have to get people to vote. And we have to go be poll workers and poll watchers. Now, let me give you my last point. Let me tell you how important it is. We probably have the best election laws in the country. We had great election laws in 2018, and I know the state has improved them since. So in 2018, our oldest grandson then, his name is August, he said, Grandpa, am I going to be on television tonight? Now think about this. There's never been a poll in my prior races that ever said I would win. There's never been a poll. We always thought we were going to win, but we always knew our races were going to be close, and they were. So we announced we won. We won by 57,000 votes. August is standing right here. You can see it's a great picture of a bunch of my grandkids there. And so he was so excited because he went to school, trash talked my opponent all the time. So I'd go to his class and I'd say, you guys don't need to do that. But anyway, so we won. So he's all excited. So about 2 days later, I saw him and I said, August, there's this lawyer by the name of Mark Elias. And he came down the next day after the election and he said he's going to win through the courts. And so what we're going through what's called a recount. I said they counted 95,000 ballots illegally after election night, and so we're going to go fight this. And his only response was, Grandpa, I told my friends you won. I said, me too. The point of this is we have good election laws in this state. If we don't have poll workers and poll watchers, if we don't swamp the vote, like Donald Trump said, then we can lose. We can't lose. There's too many elections that are important. I want my kids to have the same opportunity I had. I don't know what they want. Well, the older ones, our oldest grandson, he's great. He says, Grandpa, I'm afraid of nothing. And I don't think he is. He just went hang gliding. So I wouldn't have done that. All of his brothers said he was crazy too. But anyway, that's what I want for my grandkids and your grandkids and this whole country. So here's what we have to do. We have to start with electing the best fighter probably we've ever had for President, Donald Trump. That guy, they shot at him. Oh, I'm going to call the head of Secret Service tomorrow, and let me just ask you a question. I'm going to tell him what you guys say tonight. So stand up if you're very comfortable that the head of the Secret Service is going to disclose exactly what happened that day. Okay, come on. How about Christopher Wray then, right? How about Mayorkas? Isn't that disgusting? That we now have completely lost the trust of our federal government. That's got to change. So let me just finish the way I started. I'm very appreciative. I love traveling the state. I love coming to the Lincoln Day dinners and Reagan Day dinners. I love coming to all your events. I hope you'll continue to invite me. We're going to have a big, big win November 5th. Have a great night. Bye-bye.